and the council formal action. The topic of tonight's work session is on the Forest Grove Senior and Community Center, and I'm going to turn it over to our city manager, Jesse Vanderzanden.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I have here with me this evening Ann Lane, Director of Parks and Recreation. Thanks, Ann, for joining us. I know we have limited time, and so we'll try to get through this as soon as we can. If you could go to the next slide, please, Mariah. Next slide, please. So everything that we do here at the city connects back somehow to our Vision 2040 plan. There's two areas in which this work session will connect back. The first goal statement is a healthy and active community. I'm not going to go through all of these, but the outcome is to increase recreation opportunities for all. And if you look down in actions 3.3, 3.6, and 3.7, all of those have to do with reducing barriers to participation and trying to increase opportunities for our community. Next slide. So this goal statement is community connection. This one actually has a action specific to the Senior and Community Center. If you look at 4.4, increase and enhance opportunities at the Senior and Community Center. And then if you look at 4.6, increase the number of volunteers and volunteer programs and improve the culture of volunteerism. 4.2 is about exploring opportunities to create a central community gathering space. The Forest Grove Senior and Community Center has served as a central gathering space in the community for many, many years that is welcoming for all ages. Next slide, please. So there's really kind of two options that we're going to cover tonight. As the community may know, we received a letter from Central Cultural. They will no longer be able to operate and manage the senior center after December 31st of 2026. And so they have asked the city to consider this issue and what some of the options might be moving forward after that date. And there's really kind of two options that are out there. One is nonprofit operated and managed. That's the way that it has been done since the inception of the senior center. The other one is B, a city operated and managed in partnership with nonprofits, or what we are characterizing as kind of the hybrid option. Next slide. We're going to talk about each of these in just a minute. So the senior center is composed of two separate tax lots. They were donated to the city in 1972. They were deeded in 1993, and that's how they are currently recorded with the county today. Next slide. A little bit about the facility itself. It was built with what's called Community Development Block Grant Funds. That's a federal funding program. It was constructed in 1978. There's a number of agreements that go with it, and what an agreement is, the CDBG agreement, is when you receive federal money, you agree to use the money in the fashion in which it was granted to you for a period of 20 years. So if you look at the third bullet, encumbered until 2038, that's based on the kitchen remodel in 2018. So for 20 years, that is a publicly accessible kitchen that needs to be used in accordance with the program requirements for the federal funding that we received. The facility is approximately 9,600 square feet, and some of the recent improvements has received quite a bit of improvements over the years. But most recently, within the last decade, it's had a re-roof, a kitchen remodel, and ARPA stands for American Rescue Plan Act improvements. So we had alarm system, floor, windows, doors, paint, HVAC, and restrooms. If you haven't been to the Forest Grove Senior Community Center, it's looking good. Next slide. So the current city budget, this is what's built and programmed into the city budget as of today. This will be contrasted later with what Ann will go over in terms of a pro forma budget about what it might look like. Is currently the city pays all of the utility bills except for the natural gas. That expense is borne by the nonprofit, in this particular case, Centro. And the operating expenses, it costs for all the utility bills, it costs approximately $25,000 a year, and that's funded out of the city's general fund. In terms of capital, the city is responsible for all the structural maintenance and repairs. That's approximately $15,000 a year, and that's built into the budget for a total of $40,000. Next slide. So it's been governed by an operating agreement since 1972. Forest Grove Senior and Community Center nonprofit ran it for 1972 to 24. Centro has been doing it for the past couple of years. And basically that operating agreement, when we have a nonprofit that's running it, is it defines a primary purpose. We have a council liaison. It grants what's called an exclusive operating license. And what that means is the nonprofit has the ability to operate it, to program it, to management, and to receive and collect and keep the revenues that are generated from the facility. And then it defines the obligations of each of the parties. I've already covered some of that. So next slide. I'm going to turn it over to Matrix. And is Matrix online? So if you could promote her to a panelist, please. Matrix is going to go through a little bit of some demographics, some of the use patterns, and then also make a recommendation about a potential path forward for the city. And then Ann will follow after Matrix and talk about some of the items what that might look like, putting it into practice.
All right. You have me now on your end, Jesse and Ann.
Yep. Hi, Megan. Can you hear us?
Hey, yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So I have a number of slides here with lots of data. We're going to go through them quickly just because I recognize that there is a time crunch on this, but we're available for questions or additional conversation as needed. We can go to the next slide. So our team is working on the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Master Plan, so working closely with Ann and her team. But, today we really want to talk about the Senior and Community Center and how we make that decision on what the next best step is. So we won't dig into the small text on all this, but essentially, how do we help make a defensible decision? And it really comes down to, what is the service model going to be? What's that pro forma going to look like? What's the condition of the facility? And then recognizing that there are some unknowns. So who's going to utilize? Is there a demand that's unmet? And some of those questions that, we'll get into a little later on what we think might be the best next steps. So next slide. Documented programs. So currently there is a strong backbone of programming at the center. There's health and wellness. There's some nutrition and food programming. There are clubs and social events that are held there, events and fundraisers, rentals, and then there's some day trips, education and skill support, wellness services, sort of a well-rounded backbone of programming. We go to the next slide. So in terms of demographics, obviously you all are very aware that Forest Grove has a unique and diverse population, and it continues to shift and broaden. And so these are one of the, this is one of the things we're going to look at when we start thinking about what's the right program mix for the facility long term. Recognizing that about 40% of the population falls in that 25 to 64-year-old range, which is working adults. Obviously, you guys have a pretty strong 18 to 24 percentage of your population through Pacific University. And then there's that 65 plus that's a smaller but strong portion of the population as well. Next slide. Another important part of this whole conversation is not just age in the population, but also ethnicity. So understanding that 31% of the community is Hispanic and Latino, and that we want to make sure that, whatever the next step is in this process, that we ensure we meet every need in the community and how the residents view the center. You can go to the next slide. So this is just a snapshot of some statewide recreation trends. The point here really being that across all sort of the considerations at the top there of ethnicity, households with disabilities, statewide, urban versus rural, there's, top three things across the board are a desire for clean and well-maintained facilities, access to restrooms, and then free of charge or low-cost recreation opportunities. Next slide. So part of our process, and we're early in this and still growing through some of our community engagement, but our team is working on a series of mini polls. They just closed. So each of them were targeted to certain topics. So current conditions, park usage, recreational programming, recreational improvements, and then this most recent being the Aquatics and Community Center, the Aquatics and Senior Center, I'm sorry. And we had a team on site during a couple weeks ago, a little bit of impact from some smoke and some weather, but they were able to get out in the community and have a few conversations that are going to help us define what our next step in the community engagement process is. We'll go to the next slide. So these responses are to the series of 5 mini polls. This data is about 2 weeks old. So as of today, when we closed the last mini poll, we have about 3,000 views, 2,200 visits, about 820 contributors. And I think an important piece is that last Aquatics and Senior Center poll that just closed had 260 responses, so one of the highest of the 5 across the board. Go to the next slide. As I said, we were on site in August, a little impacted by weather. We intended to be at National Night Out and a couple other events that were canceled, but we were able to go out and talk to some folks at these places. We were at the Senior and Community Center. We were at the library, the Aquatic Center. We met some folks in Lincoln Park, and then obviously got a heavy voting at Pink Spoon. We'll go to the next one. So when we look at the results so far of the engagement that we've seen, there's a couple of things that stand out, one of which is just representation across the board. So we recognize that, through the many poll responses, about 84% of respondents were identified as Caucasian or white, which means that's a demographic and a target community that we have not reached through the many poll responses, and that'll be something that we intend to go out into the community and sort of broaden how we address that. The same with youth. It's hard to expect a youth or a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old to, take a mini poll online, but it is something that we intend to be out in the community and talk to kids, because it's important to understand what they want through a lot of these processes. Again, the Aquatics and Senior Center, when we developed this presentation, it was still a little early to know what the poll was going to indicate. But now we do know a little bit more, and that statement that a need for increased communication and unmet demand kind of persisted throughout, even after the 260 responses. So there's definitely an unmet demand for some aquatics programming, and then also some recreation programming that we've seen through this community engagement exercise. And the last piece is there were 330 written comments that we received as part of the mini poll responses. We will spend some time aggregating and going through those and creating themes. We haven't done that yet because they just closed yesterday. But those often give us a little more insight into the specifics rather than just the broad questions. Let's go to the next slide. So what improvements would you most like to see? This question was offered both in the on-site engagement and through the mini polls. And just high level, you'll see here, walking and biking trails was far and above the most cited thing that we heard, in addition to more sports and fitness facilities and upgraded playgrounds. So across the board, those rose to the top in the improvements that folks wanted to see, both through voting in on-site engagement and then also through the mini polls. Next slide. So the second question was, what major investment over the next 10 years would respondents like to see? So interestingly, only 60% of mini poll respondents said that their programming needs were being met, with 56% of them indicating that there was a need for indoor recreation space. And children and teens were most frequently referenced for the focus of programming. But you'll see here that recreation programming was last on the list of desired investment. So I think that divergence needs to be studied a little more on our end to just understand, is it an education piece, or is it, having conversations with the community on what's possible? And that's really something we hope to dig into through our next phases of community engagement. Next steps. So what does all that mean in terms of what might be next for the Senior and Community Center? So this is sort of how we think that those trends and demographic themes might be applicable to today. So first, repositioning from a true senior center to an all ages community wellness hub fits with the Vision 2040 plan, and it serves as much of your population as possible. Really leading with social connection to ensure that the community feels connected to the space and to one another. There's definitely a loneliness epidemic that's being studied as a trend throughout the country, and this is an opportunity to address that. The operating model, though, has to be built on partnerships. The city can't do it alone, and so building on that programming partnership and service delivery partnership is going to be very important. The space is great. It offers multiple rooms, lots of opportunities to be flexible in what you're scheduling and who's in the building at any given time, but also throughout the day. Funding resources and cost recovery is going to be a key to success. I think Anne's going to touch on that in a few minutes. So she'll sort of talk through what that cost recovery might look like. And then across, the United States, we're seeing a trend in more intergenerational programming. So really being able to lean into that in this facility. And then ensuring that access in the programming mix and the service delivery model is there. So including language, transportation, programs offered, affordability is all going to be important through the next steps. Go next slide. So all that to say, there's a couple of things we would recommend in terms of what do we continue, what do we expand, and then what do we develop. This is sort of an outline of those things. We continue the health and wellness programming. There's an opportunity to expand meals and nutrition, expand the social and recreation programming, develop some lifelong learning opportunities, specifically utilizing Pacific University and other partnerships. There's an opportunity to expand rentals and event space use, and then to develop some support services through partnerships with the county and other players. Go to the next slide. So this is just a snapshot of what's currently offered. Just a sort of an average of a couple of calendars put together. There's a strong backbone, as we said earlier, but with the right resources and operational model, there's definitely an opportunity to expand and to meet a broader segment of the community. So if we flip to the next slide, you'll see. So again, this is what a fully built out potential could look like. Still really focusing on that older adults and senior programming, but also able to tap into youth, teen, and family. But the other piece of this is being able to understand what rentals and partnerships could look like in terms of a revenue generator. What you'll see here is some grayed out areas. That would be what staff likely can't cover currently. So that's when we're looking at additional costs potentially for personnel, and could come later in the process when we understand what the rental market looks like and how many people want to be in the space at that time. But the point here would be, we don't want to get rid of any current programming, but there's certainly an opportunity to expand availability. We'll go to the next slide. So the city manager covered this a minute ago. You currently provide some funding through utility and operating. You've contributed significantly to capital through grant funding and the overall facility structure. Positions are currently funded in the general fund, and some of those could shift to provide coverage at the center, in addition to some of those volunteer and intern opportunities to cover gaps, utilizing partnerships, program agreements, and really defining what that looks like over time. And that last piece is sort of what I just mentioned, that additional personnel could be added over time when programming and rental capacity exceeds what your current staff is able to do. And go to the next slide. So the facility is in good condition. We had architect and an MEP contractor come out and take a look. It's in good condition. Primary issue is lack of storage and some spaces that no longer really align with their original intended use. That's a relatively easy thing to overcome. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, a lot of it's been upgraded. It's certainly been maintained well. So there's a couple of things like any building that may need to be addressed, but there are no big expenses that we anticipate will be upcoming for the facility. So to get back to the main question here is sort of what's the potential operating model for the future of the facility? The city manager alluded to, the nonprofit model versus the hybrid and some of the benefits of each. So in the nonprofit model, which is what we've seen historically, that organization would staff the building, they'd provide the services, but they also are keeping the revenue and they have exclusive use of the building. So that really limits the city's ability to expand the programs and services that they can offer. With a hybrid model, we would, expect that those nonprofits and partners are still in the mix and that they're still assisting with the programs and services and helping with fundraising and event management. But the city would be the day-to-day operator of the facility and then continue current programming as it exists today, but also be able to expand offerings like we just showed in that schedule, where maybe there's an opportunity to reach a broader segment of the community. So through just the demographics and some of the preliminary public engagement that we've received, we feel like the recommended model, based on a couple of different things, would be the hybrid model. Really an opportunity to position the building as a flexible all ages hub, still anchored by some of those programs that you see today, but also understanding that, you know, it relies on very successful partnerships and support through the nonprofit and partners that you already have and who are already in the facility.
Thank you very much, Megan, for that. So the last part of this evening's presentation provides for a more detailed look at each of the operational and management frameworks. Next slide. Option A is the nonprofit operated and managed model. Next. The transition plan for this option is estimated to take approximately 4 months and would follow a RFP process, a request for proposals process, much like last time. That would kick off in September and be wrapped up by the end of the year. As of current, the city has not been approached by any entity expressing interest in operating and managing the facility. Option B is, as the consultant recommended, the hybrid model, where the city operates and manages the facility in partnership with nonprofits. The transition plan for this option includes staff development of approaches to address operations, staffing, budget, programming, and partner development. Components of the transition plan will be broken down in the following slides. First, for the first year, the city would take a do no harm approach to the operational structure of the facility. Existing programs would continue to be supported while also exploring opportunities to expand into multi-generational programs. Facility hours would be maintained at a minimum of Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Current leases and rental agreements would be honored. Communications associated with the operations of the facility would be folded into the city's existing structures, such as website, social media, newsletters, etc. And as the city develops a communications and branding plan, the facility would be considered for sub-branding to create a unique identity within the city. Throughout the first year, staff will be taking the time to conduct a thorough assessment of the complete operation and develop opportunities that will help enhance and optimize the asset for the community. Parks and Recreation Department is uniquely skilled and positioned to assume operational and management responsibility of the facility. The existing full-time recreation coordinator would be reclassified to recreation supervisor and be the on-site staff in charge of day-to-day operations of the facility. The existing full-time administrative specialist, currently housed at the Aquatic Center, would split time between both facilities. The existing cashier team would be cross-trained to work at both facilities, filling staffing gaps and providing necessary customer service coverage. In time, this team will need to expand to ensure adequate coverage is met at both facilities. The additional facility would require additional custodial and landscaping maintenance. Internal and external options would be explored to meet this need appropriately. Volunteers would hold a significant role in operations of the facility and for the department through the creation of a staff-managed volunteer program. Financial assumptions made by staff during review of this opportunity are based on current known conditions, and understanding that these conditions may change upon assuming full operational and management responsibility will be necessary. The initial budget developed for this opportunity assumes that the existing level of city budget allocation will continue, that the recreation coordinator and recreation program funding from the levy will also continue. It is also assumed that the administrative specialists and cashiers will continue as budgeted. As mentioned earlier, assuming responsibility for the facility will require additional personnel to maintain coverage. Should the city operate and manage the facility, all revenues generated by the city will be retained by the city. Revenue generation would be dependent on programming and nonprofit participation. The city would seek to continue and/or reinstate programs and events that have and/or can generate revenue. Working with nonprofits on potential fundraising opportunities for the facility will also be an avenue of revenue generation. By adding the facility to the inventory of assets, it can be assumed that staffing expenses will increase, as well as custodial and landscaping expenses and ongoing operational expenses. It can also be assumed that there will be an increase in one-time equipment expenses. With all the financial assumptions made, the table shown is a representation of year one operations and management of the facility and associated budget impacts. Staff is estimating that rents and leases will increase revenue by $25,000, and it is reflective of new and/or expanded rents and leases, and not a change to any existing rents or leases. With the addition of indoor programmable recreation space, it is estimated that programs and events will increase revenue by $10,000 and increase expenses by $5,000, resulting in a net revenue gain of $5,000. Personnel expenses are estimated to increase by $21,200 and reflects the status change of the recreation coordinator advancing to recreation supervisor and additional cashier hours. Custodial expenses are estimated to increase by $15,200 and landscaping expenses to increase by $7,800. Facility maintenance is estimated to increase by $10,000, materials, supplies, and services by $5,000, and utilities and insurance by $1,000. The net result is an increase in expenses totaling $30,200. Another component staff has reviewed as it would relate to the city assuming operations and management of the facility is programming. The first year of operations will consist of assessment of existing programs and services held at the facility. Dependent upon findings, adjustments may be made to optimize participation, access, and facility optimization. Existing Parks and Recreation Department programs will also be assessed for expansion into year-round indoor opportunities. New programming opportunities would exist with the addition of indoor space that could accommodate year-round special interest programs, services, and events that yield high participation, revenue generation, maximizes facility use, and serves multiple generations is a goal for the department. Much like the approach that would be taken with programming, the first year of operations will consist of assessment of existing partnerships associated with the facility, as well as with the Parks and Recreation Department. This would include an assessment of the partner's role, their alignment with the city's purpose, and the service or services they provide. Along the way, new partnership opportunities would be explored, and all partnerships would have to have an assurance of mutual benefit to be considered viable. At this time, we welcome questions and discussion regarding the preferred operating model of the existing Forest Grove Senior and Community Center.
Thank you, Director Lane. I'm going to go with Council President Valenzuela and then Councilor Faulkner.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for this beautiful job, the presentation, everything very clear. So thank you for all the hard work that was put into this presentation. That being said, it's always amazing to me that we have a certain percentage of Latino population that for some reason is very difficult to reach out to. So again, I will give my advice when we have consultants, for example. We have Centro Cultural and we have Adelante Mujeres. They can certainly provide a lot of support in terms of outreach. So can teachers. at the schools. So I ask you to please take that into consideration, because we get 6%, 13% response out of, a population of 31 Latinos that we have. Okay, and I'm just saying this for future practice, because it's not the first time that I say it. And it's 31%. So, I would appreciate the effort to bring up this number for participation, because these things are important for the entire community. Okay? So that being said, if I may, in terms of volunteers, a lot of things come to my mind. You have Pacific University, that you can connect with professors, with faculty that can certainly make something happen in terms of volunteerism from their students, to do something good for the surrounding community. Also the high school. You have teachers that are looking for opportunities also to connect their students with some type of volunteer work in the community. And I think having generations, the youth and the elderly, is such an important component of growing up. And, giving them these opportunities, I think it would be really, really great. So those are my comments and my suggestions to make this beautiful work happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that Megan shared briefly about the result of the polls and the outreach that they've done so far. I just want to reiterate that they really are just getting started. And these are preliminary results on sort of the first run. But they've got many more months ahead of them of outreach and, fine tuning to make sure that we really are reaching the whole community as best we can.
And you can always call on me to help.
You got it.
And thank you, and I agree. Thank you, Council President, for your comments. And I would just like to say that there might be an opportunity in September with back to school nights. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, I just think that I think that we have struggled. I think, and I've heard Council President, I mean, some of us have said this, like, we know that we need to do more to engage with all of our community members and especially our Latinx community. And so maybe it's through the schools. I think every single school will have a back to school night in September. And I think that, since they're early in the process, SEMA will be there. We'll have translation services. And I think, I think it's a twofold, because those partnerships, could also be with the school district resource office, the CLC, when all of these things are, that's the way we, I know I'm speaking to the choir, but that's how we get things done in Forest Grove, is that we all come together, and work together. Okay, sorry, Councilor Falconer, you're up next.
Thank you, Megan and Director Lane. Well, I thank you so much for sort of calling out the discrepancy between, some of those demographic data points and the preliminary outreach results. A question that I have about, sort of tracking, those are two data, I think you sort of, you've kind of focused on like age and race as data points. I would, if we aren't already, so maybe this is a question and a comment. If we aren't already, I think it's really important, in particular for recreation and programming at a site like this. If we're not already asking for demographic information about income as well as housing status, I think housing status in particular gets sort of lost as one of those demographic data points that people don't tend to think to collect. But I think for things like transportation, for recreational opportunities, folks who rent are at a very clear disadvantage and disparity when it comes to opportunities and access to these types of services. So I would hope, and if we, if we're not already, if we can please start asking for that information when we're collecting this data. I really, really want us to start as sort of like a practice to do that, because I think, we get really skewed skewed results from homeowners and from folks with higher incomes. And that is, that can really sort of influence the kind of recreational programming that, that we sort of hear from the community that they want. And there again, maybe we're not meeting the needs of the most vulnerable people in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Falconer, and I second that statement. And so does your colleagues here too are nodding their head yes. Councilor Schimmel.
I also echo the presentation. Thanks for bringing this to us. So I had two thoughts that intersect. One is the involving assurances. One is the assurance of your staff and the facilities you have and the ability to maintain them. And then there's the assurance to the seniors and programming that exists there and being able to retain them in that first year. And correct me or clarify, we're bringing our current staff and stretching them across this facility. So there's that, if you could speak to that. And then Jesse, on the budget piece, can we anticipate a budget adjustment decision, or does our current budget give you enough latitude in covering this $30,000 and possibly contracting with an existing staff in the facility today to help that first year?
So the staffing shift that you're asking about, the current recreation coordinator that will be reclassified to recreation supervisor is currently housed upstairs at City Hall. Placing that person over in a facility where the public can actually access them easily is a huge benefit. Yeah, huge benefit. And that person will be present, public facing, and engaging directly with people that are coming into the facility. So I think that right there is a barrier eliminator for a lot of people. They just, they have questions, they need to talk to people. So, and then also shifting that expertise of existing admin staff over there to assist with building the structure of customer service and making sure that people that come into the facility get the experience that they're looking for. We have that existing. We do need to backfill with cashiers that are under the direction of the administrative specialists that are trained customer service support staff.
How about your current facilities? Are you saying that in this plan there's no compromise to maintaining the facilities you already have across your portfolio?
So the only other customer service point facility we have is the Aquatic Center. I think there will be great benefit in being able to cross-train those cashiers at the Senior and Community Center as well as the Aquatic Center. They become much more versed in the total operation of what Parks and Recreation has become for Forest Grove. And those folks already exist. Yes, there will need to be some backfill with cashiers, but we expect that with year one, it's gonna be a kind of a slow ramp up. At least that's kind of what we're hoping for. Is a bit of a slow ramp up while we get our feet under us and we can figure out what the rhythm of the building is and where the needs really are greater. So. Mm-hmm.
Any other, or did you have more to say?
I was going to say, with regard to the
Oh,
budget, I
budget.
was going to ask Kim Ezel, our Assistant City Manager, to respond to the budget question.
Hi, Kim Ezel, Assistant City Manager. We do believe that the budget will be able to absorb, the current budget will be able to absorb this additional cost. As Ann Lane has put it so well, we will slowly be ramping up. And if there is any change that we need to make to the budget, we'll be monitoring that closely. Can always bring that forward to the council. It'll also be part of the budget discussions for the next biennium going into next spring.
Okay, any further questions? I'm seeing none. So let's come to consensus on the model. So the two operating models we could choose from was model 1, which was nonprofit. Wait, I want to say something before we get to this. For very many years, longer more years than I've been alive, we've had nonprofits helping the city provide the service. And, I want to take the opportunity to say we really do appreciate that. Both the Forest Grove Senior Center Board and Central Cultural have done a wonderful job in partnering with the city to provide services for seniors. So I say that now, and I want to be really clear that the decision this council makes as a governing body has nothing to do with the quality of work that these groups have done for the city and the respect and value that we have for them. So now I'll go back. Thanks. So we can either do option one, which is a nonprofit model and an RFP process, or we can start building out a hybrid model. And I guess we switch from one to A and B one. Okay. So either we can choose. So is there anyone that would like to do the nonprofit RFP model? Is there consensus to do the hybrid model? Just thumbs up or head nods, hands raised. Okay. We're going to move forward with the hybrid model, please.
Just one addition, will there be a period of transition where Central will be there and then City will be there? So, everything's out.
Thank you very much for asking that question. I did intend to mention that along the way. We really hope that once we get through the formalities here, that we will start this conversation with Centro ASAP. And we hope to have staff placed even just part-time over there as soon as October, so we can start to learn the function of the building, get to know the patrons, get to know the people that are leasing space in there, understand the relationships and commitments, and just, again, the rhythm and the flow of the building. You have to be there to know it. So in hopes that when December 31st rolls around and then we move to January 1, it won't feel too different, is the hope.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to adjourn this work session. We're going to take about a 10-minute bio break and then reconvene for our meeting. And I'm sorry to everyone. Good evening. Welcome back after our summer hiatus. I would like to call to order this meeting of the Forest Grove City Council on Monday, August 24th at 7:23 p.m. Will our city recorder please call roll?
Council President Valenzuela.
Here.
Councilor Schimmel.
Here.
Councilor Falconer.
Here.
Councilor Martinez.
Here.
Councilor Marshall.
Here.
Mayor Wenzel.
Here. I'm having difficulties with my. Okay. We acknowledge the land on which Forest Grove is located rests on the traditional village sites of the Atfalati, a tribe of the Kalapua who originally inhabited the Tualatin Plains, including Forest Grove. They are now part of the Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde. For more information on the Atfalati, visit the Pacific University Libraries. Will the council and the audience please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I remembered my glasses today. I'm like a newly reader person and it works. I just can't see out there now. I'm not really used to it. Okay, so bear with me and I apologize. Okay, so I would like to start with National Day of Service and Remembrance. Whereas on September 11th, 2001, nearly 3,000 men, women, and children who were going about their normal routines were taken from us, depriving families and loved ones of a lifetime of precious moments. And whereas, in response to this tragedy, Americans across the country came together in a remarkable spirit of unity and carried out countless acts of kindness, generosity, and compassion. And whereas community organizations and family members of 9/11 victims began observing the anniversary of September 11th as a charitable service day to honor the memory of those who were lost and those who united in response to the tragedy, including first responders and volunteers. And whereas on September 11th, 2026, and on the days leading up to and following this day, citizens of Forest Grove have an opportunity to participate in activities that honor 9/11 victims and heroes by joining together in service projects to meet community needs. And whereas on Friday, September 11th, 2026, at 9 a.m., the public is invited to attend a remembrance ceremony at the Big Flag to reflect on the 25th anniversary of the attacks, the lives lost, and pay tribute to the families who still live with extraordinary pain. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Forest Grove does hereby proclaim September 11th as National Day of Service and Remembrance in Forest Grove, Oregon, and encourages all residents of Forest Grove to honor the lives of those lost through participation in community service and remembrance ceremonies on this day and throughout the year. Thank you.
Proclamación. Considerando que el 11 de septiembre de 2001, cerca de 3.000 hombres, mujeres y niños que se encontraban realizando sus actividades cotidianas nos fueron arrebatados, privando a sus familias y seres queridos de toda una vida de momentos entrañables. Y considerando que en respuesta a esta tragedia, estadounidenses de todo el país se unieron en un extraordinario espíritu de unidad y llevaron a cabo innumerables actos de bondad, generosidad y compasión. Y considerando que organizaciones comunitarias y familiares de las víctimas del 11 de septiembre comenzaron a conmemorar el aniversario de esta fecha como un día de servicio y solidaridad, con el propósito de honrar la memoria de quienes perdieron la vida y de quienes se unieron para responder a la tragedia, incluidos el personal de los servicios de emergencia y los voluntarios. Y considerando que el 11 de septiembre de 2026, así como durante los días previos y posteriores a esta fecha, los ciudadanos de Forest Grove tendrán la oportunidad de participar en actividades que honren a las víctimas y héroes del 11 de septiembre, uniéndose en proyectos de servicio destinados a atender las necesidades de la comunidad. Y considerando que el viernes 11 de septiembre de 2026, a las 9 de la mañana, se invita al público a asistir a una ceremonia conmemorativa en la bandera monumental para reflexionar reflexionar sobre el aniversario 25 de los atentados, recordar a quienes perdieron la vida y rendir homenaje a las familias que aún viven con un dolor extraordinario. Por lo tanto, el Ayuntamiento de la ciudad de Forest Grove proclama por la presente el día 11 de septiembre como Día Nacional de Servicio y Conmemoración en Forest Grove, Oregon, y exhorta a todos sus residentes a honrar la memoria de quienes perdieron la vida mediante su participación en actividades de servicio comunitario y ceremonias conmemorativas en este día y durante todo el año. En testimonio de lo cual, ha suscrito la presente y ha dispuesto que el sello de la ciudad de Forest Grove, Oregon, se emplace en este documento en este día 24 de agosto de 2026, nuestra alcaldesa Melinda Wenzel. Gracias.
Thank you, Council President Valenzuela. We are now going to move on to item B on the agenda, which is public comment. Time provided for anyone wishing to speak to the council on any item not scheduled for a public hearing. Comments are limited to 2 minutes unless additional time is granted by the presiding officer. The public comment period shall not exceed 30 minutes unless extended by the council. Zoom attendees may use the raise hand option to be called on. And we have 2 people signed up for public comment. We'll start with Mr. Dale Feek. Good evening, Mr. Feek.
Good evening, Mayor Wenzel and Council President Valenzuela and Council President DLP. When I do public comment to the county commissioners, this falls back, so I just have to check. I don't fall back, hurt myself. Sorry about that. May I have 3 minutes?
You may.
Thank you. I sent you 2 emails. I'm going to talk about those 2 emails. One has to do with others have a right to expect from us and what we have a right to expect from others. The other has to do with Merkley and wildfires. I went to the Chamber of Commerce meeting today in which the 2 talkers were McLean, Representative McLean, and Senator Solomon. And they spoke, I asked a question, and they both spoke about the incident that happened to Senator McLean out at the sewage and treatment plant in Forest Grove. She was verbally ousted. Her glasses were taken off of her and thrown, and the sheriff or police department came and they arrested him, and he has a court date. It was very clear for both of our representatives that that's inappropriate behavior and that people need to act civilly even though they disagree with each other. And it's very important that that occur. I think before I did talk with you, the email I sent you about what others have a right to expect from us and what we have a right to expect from them. And in particular, there are 8 of them, that we do not steal what belongs to them, we do not injure their health, damage their bodies, or kill them, that we do not interfere with their freedom of action when their conduct in no way injures us, and that we do not make false statements that would injure their reputation or give them a bad name. I just hope you, I'm sure you do, and everybody else involved in the political system, in the governmental system, adheres to good ethics and behavior. Just hope that. I made a presentation to the Hillsborough City Council. You know, when I send my emails, I send it usually to 4 mayors, and I usually make comment here, but also I made comment at the Hillsborough City Council meeting, the last meeting they had. I shared this with them. They agreed with me. The city manager of Hillsborough came up to me later and said, "Thank you, Dale, for your comments, and we read your emails." So I much appreciate them doing that and taking seriously what I send to them. The wildfire. I live in a wildfire zone in Forest Grove. I'm really concerned. I even had some arborvitae cut down because we're in a wildfire area, and you really have to be careful in doing that. But that's just local. We're talking about Forest Grove bigger. We're talking about the county. We're talking about the state. And so Senator Merkley introduced the Wildfire Smoke Emergency Declaration Act. And in my email to you, I ask each of you to take a look at that and really support his bill. We need all the help we can get. So if you haven't looked at it, please take a look at it. It's very important. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Veek. Our second public comment is Miss Carol Allery.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hey, I'm glad you guys all had a vacation. We all needed it.
Right?
There's a lot been going on this last year. Anyway, and thank you for the information on what you're doing with the 9/11. I think that's an awesome thing that we're doing here. What I just have to share is I always come and I share the word of God with you guys because I think you need to be blessed by what he has to say. 1 Corinthians 2:6-10 says, we teach wisdom to people who are mature, but the wise we teach not from this world. It is not the wisdom of the rulers of this world, nor who are losing their powers, but we speak God's secret wisdom that has been hidden from everyone until now. God has planned this wisdom for your glory. He planned it before the world began. None of the rulers of this world understood this wisdom. If they had understood it, they would have not killed our great and gracious Lord on a cross. But scriptures say, no one has ever seen, no one has ever heard, no one can ever imagine what God has prepared for those who love him. Perfect love casts out all fear, and our Lord Jesus Christ offers that to anyone who loves him. May that bless you today, and may you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Miss Allery. There are no other individuals signed up for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to give public comment? Maybe hesitation in the back. We're very kind up here. While you're deciding, I'll ask, is there anyone on Zoom who would like to give public comment? Anybody on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature if you would like to give public comment. I'm not seeing anybody, so I'm going to ask again. In the audience, would you like to give public comment? No? Okay. Yes. Okay, sounds good. For those watching, or maybe Councilor Falconer, they're going to speak with Director Lane later. I would believe probably about the Senior Center work session. Thank you for attending. Okay, we're going to move on to our consent agenda. Consent agenda items considered routine that are adopted with a single motion without discussion. Councilors may remove items prior to the motion to adopt. Any removed items are discussed and acted upon following the approval of the remaining items. What is the wish of the council?
Move.
Second.
Councilor Marshall made the motion and Councilor Martinez seconded the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved in a 6-0 vote. Thank you. Additions and deletions. City Manager, do you have any additions or deletions?
No additions or deletions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any proposed by councilors? Seeing or hearing none, we will now, nope, we will not. We will move on to item F, which is public hearings, ordinances, and resolutions. And our first resolution is resolution 202635. And I'm going to ask that our Parks and Rec Director, Lane, come up to the microphone. I want to make sure I don't have any scripts. Sorry, I'm just making sure I don't have, there's no public hearings on this, right? Nothing. No. Okay, cool. Seems like a whole lot of. Okay.
Go to the first slide. Just very briefly, back on July 14th, the city was notified of an opportunity of three parcels of land that were coming for auction on July 16th. City expressed an interest in being a bidder on those parcels as they are adjacent to Kyle Park, the future park to be developed down along Gales Creek. So after review and great discussion, we decided that we would go ahead and pursue this. And it was, the city did end up being the winning bidder on 2 parcels. It was very exciting. It was a mad dash and it was a little stressful, but we got in and we made it happen. So just want to go through these couple parcels with you. Next slide. The 2 parcels that we were winning bidder on were number 400 and 401 that are circled on the map there. Lot 203 that's in the square, that's the existing Kyle Park property. The 3rd parcel that was up for auction that we did not bid on was lot 500. That's in blue, directly north of 401. So if you get back up just briefly one time. The green highlight that's across there, that is the future route of the Forest Grove Loop Trail. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Lot 401, like that's not gonna impede, like not getting that lot has nothing to do with us being able to develop the loop trail and
That's correct.
access it because we have access points at 203. Is that right? Or
So we have access points at 203, but the trail actually runs on top of an existing utility easement.
okay.
So we'll develop that surface into a drivable surface that will be reinforced for large vehicles.
Got it.
Okay.
But you guys were the other day.
And so first, brief look at lot 400. This was the first property that was on the auction block. It was also our top priority lot to acquire. 4.97 acres, shares its east property line with Kyle Park and its north property line with the Forest Grove Loop Trail. There is also a certificate of water rights with this parcel to Gales Creek. Benefit is, of course, direct connection to Kyle Park and opportunity for future park expansion. This parcel is largely in floodplain, but is a terrific opportunity for nature park experience. Next. Lot 401, this was the 3rd property on the auction block, but it was our 2nd priority lot to acquire. This totals 14.76 acres on this lot, shares a property line to the north with the future Forest Grove Loop Trail. It too has a certificate of water rights. Water rights are a big deal. Let's just say that. Benefit of this parcel is just its size in general, but a lot of creek frontage and its close proximity to Kyle Park. There's also terrific opportunity, although a lot of it is in floodplain, for, again, nature park experience. And that is it.
Okay,
So
great.
we were the successful bidder. Those 2 parcels, we were high bid, total came to $217,800. Purchase of that came from, or would come from, the Parks Systems Development charges.
Cool. Any questions from council for Director Lane? Yes, and I see Councilor Schimmel.
Well, just to confirm my understanding and maybe the right language to describe the funds used to purchase this as well as the Metro funds used to reimburse it.
So also on the agenda coming up next will be a discussion about the acquisition reimbursement from Metro. But even if that reimbursement wasn't available, the money that would be used to make this purchase comes from what's called Parks Systems Development charges. Those are fees that are charged to developers when they construct things in town, and it's a per door charge that goes into a special account that we use to expand recreational opportunity.
Perfect. Okay. What is the wish of the council?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 2026-35, move to adopt.
Okay, perfect. So Resolution 2026-35 was moved by Councilor Schimmel and seconded by Councilor Martinez. Any discussion? Nope. Seeing no discussion, want to make sure I'm looking at Counselor Falconer. No discussion. Okay. Because it has to do with land acquisition, we're going to do a roll call vote. Oh, wait. Can you read it by? Listen, it's my first meeting back after a month. Give me a break. I caught myself like Jesse's looking. Will the city manager please read the resolution by title only?
Resolution 2026-35, authorizing the purchase of property identified as tax lots 1S40100-00400 and 1S40100-00401 for the expansion of adjacent city park property and authorizing city manager to complete the purchase.
Okay, great. And now will the city recorder please call for the vote?
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Marshall?
Yes.
Council President Valenzuela?
Yes.
Counselor Schimmel?
Yes.
Counselor Falconer?
Yes.
Mayor Wenzel?
Yes. The Forest Grove City Council approves Resolution 2026-35 with a 6-0 vote. Before we move on, I just would like to say that prior to being mayor, when my predecessor, Mayor Truax, did this and would mess up in my brain, I was like, come on, this is not that difficult. Pete, get it together. And now I seem to mess up all the time. So just a little reflection of maybe I should be a little bit more graceful. Okay. Anyways, we're going to move on to Resolution 2026-36, and I'm going to continue to let Director Lane.
All right, very good. Thank you. Before we went to bid on the two parcels down on Gales Creek, I approached Metro. As previous conversations with them, they had indicated to me that they had the ability to help with land acquisition should an opportunity arise. I reached out to them. They said, we can't move that quickly. Hopefully you can. And if you can, we'll help you out. So they are helping us out significantly by reimbursing the purchase of the two parcels at a total of $200,000. So net cost to the city is $17,800 for those two parcels.
Is how much? Can you say that again?
$17,800.
That's so nice.
I'm telling you, partners are.
Partners, it's where
That's it.
it's where the magic happens. Metro, thank you, Metro. Cool. Is that the end of your staff report? I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So are there any questions for Director Lane? Yeah, I think, I would like to just say, yes, partnerships. It's where the secret sauce is at, right? It's working together. So are there no other questions? Will the city no? Oh, I need a motion. Jeez Louise. Okay. Can I please get a motion?
I move that we approve.
Jeez Louise.
Second.
Man, I'm struggling. Okay. Councilor Martinez made the motion and Councilor Schimmel seconded Resolution 2026-36. Now I should ask for discussion. Seeing no discussion, will the city manager please read the resolution by title only?
Resolution 2026-36, authorizing the city manager to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Metro to receive acquisition funding.
Okay, great. And all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none. Resolution 2026-36 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a 6-0 vote. Thank you, Director Lane.
On a side note, I want to give her props for moving on this so fast and seeing the value in this land, because that was a huge purchase in a short amount of time, and I know it took a lot of getting everything lined up really fast, and you did a great job with that.
Oh, thank you very much for being nimble and working with me. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you, Councilor Marshall. Next up is Resolution 2026-37, and this has to do with an IGA with Clean Water Services, and I will have our Assistant City Manager, Kim Ezel, present.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and Council. The resolution before you this evening authorizes the city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement with Clean Water Services that delineates specific responsibilities of each party for stormwater and sewer services. The original IGA was adopted in 2005 and has been amended subsequently. All cities within Washington County have an IGA with Clean Water Services. Beginning in early 2025, CWS undertook a process to update their IGAs with all partner cities with the intention of seeking consistency among cities in operating and managing program responsibilities. The city and CWS staff have met several times and have reached consensus on the IGA before you for consideration this evening. While many core elements of the 2005 IGA remain in place, the proposed IGA updates and modernizes the previous agreement. Two notable changes to the IGA are: one, the addition of language that allows cities to bill CWS for billing, collecting, and remitting sewer and stormwater revenues to CWS. The cities are collaborating with each other and CWS on a consistent billing approach and are expected to have a process in place soon. This proposal will result in increased revenue to the city of Forest Grove to pay for a portion of the city's utility billing expenses. The second notable change changes the sanitary sewer SDC allocation from 80% CWS and 20% city to 96% CWS and 4% city effective July 1st, 2027, so next fiscal year. Coupled with the change in the SDC allocations is an increase in cost-sharing eligibility for the city of Forest Grove for replacement sewer pipes 12 inches and greater. This means the city can now split replacement costs 50-50 with CWS for over 48,000 linear feet of pipe instead of bearing the entire cost. Based on the new cost-sharing formula, the city estimates $10 to $16 million in savings in replacement costs, far exceeding what would have been collected in SDC revenues under the previous allocation methodology. This SDC allocation change makes Forest Grove consistent with all other cities in Washington County and will lead to significantly reduced future capital expenses. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Assistant City Manager? Okay, hearing no questions, what's the wish of the council?
Move that we approve Resolution 2026-37.
Second.
Thank you. Resolution 2026-37 was moved by Councilor Martinez and seconded by Councilor Marshall. Any discussion? Well, I'm excited about the billing thing. I mean, I know that seems pretty small, but I think that's really important. And anyways, I'm pretty excited to hear that that's getting done. And the future, I mean, at first I was like, wait, what are we getting out of this? But the infrastructure costs are going to be, I think again, what Ann said, right? Partners, secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's my discussion. I don't see any other discussion. Will the city manager please read the resolution by title only?
Resolution 2026-37, authorizing the city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement with Clean Water Services regarding cooperative management.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, hearing none. Resolution 2026-37 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a 6-0 vote. Okay, and next up is our city manager, Jesse Vanderzanden, talking about our legislative priorities to the League of Oregon Cities.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Each even-numbered year, the League of Oregon Cities, of which the city is a member, asks each city to submit their top 5 legislative priorities that they would like the League of Oregon Cities to focus on during the legislative cycle. The League of Oregon Cities has several lobbyists that go down and represent their city members, of which we are one. Once all the city's votes are tallied, the LOC Board of Directors will review and approve a final set of legislative priorities at its October meeting. The City Council met in a work session on July 13th and arrived at a consensus to submit the following overall top 5 priorities, not necessarily in priority order. The priorities are public meetings law clarity, infrastructure funding, land availability and land use streamlining, 2027 transportation package, and full funding and streamlining for housing production. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Okay, any questions for Jesse? Hearing none, what is the wish of the council?
Move that we pass Resolution 2026-38.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Resolution 2026-38 was moved by Councilor Martinez and seconded by Council President Valenzuela. Any discussion? Just for the audience, just to update, we had a work session about this a month ago. like it just one. We're not just like picking and choosing. It's not a multiple choice like state test. Okay. I guess I don't need to say that. But anyways, will the city manager please read this by title only?
Resolution 2026-38, authorizing the city manager to submit city council legislative priorities to the League of Oregon Cities.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none. Resolution 2026-38 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a 6-0 vote. Next up on the agenda, I believe, is, hang on, I guess I have to turn my page. I think it's our labor agreement, but I can't turn my agenda. Okay, Resolution 20-2639, authorizing execution of a labor agreement. And I'm going to turn it over to our Human Resource Director, Brenda Camille, and then also, Emily, I don't know your last name by heart, but
Guymont.
Guymont, that's right. Emily Guymont, our city attorney.
All right. Well, good evening, Council. We are here today with the good news that through bargaining, we have reached tentative agreement on a new collective bargaining agreement with ASME. This, as we know, the CBA, we're currently under expired on June 30, so we're in a holdover period right now. ASME has already ratified the CBA. It was a unanimous vote, which is always encouraging, and we are here to advocate that Council also ratify the CBA. I'll quickly go through some highlights. So, the money is always the big part of a new contract. So 3-year contract, here are the wage increases. In year 1, employees will receive a 2% market adjustment to bring them within competitive market range, and then a 4% cost of living adjustment. Year 2 is a 3.75 cost of living adjustment, and year 3 is a 3.25% cost of living adjustment. One of the city's goals, and actually ASME's goals too, a shared goal for this bargaining session was to promote recruitment and retention of employees, recruit new employees, retain the employees that we currently have. So to that end, there were some other changes we agreed to in the contract. We made some adjustments to vacation so that employees accrue more vacation earlier in their tenure with the city. We made some changes to some longevity incentives. One in particular, when employees reach certain yearly milestones of continuous employment with the city, they get, cash sums added to their VITA accounts. We did some work on the positions in the Public Works Department, added some new positions so that employees have opportunities to move into more advanced positions for professional development, bringing a skill set to the city that the city would find very valuable for operations, and then made some spot adjustments to existing positions, spots on the wage scale to stay competitive within the market. We also were protective of the city's financial position. One of the things we bargained for is a CDL reimbursement program. So city pays to send employees to go get their commercial driver's license, pays for the employees' time and training, pays for the costs of receiving that training, which is a big investment for the city, and it's beneficial for both the city and the employee. So we have language now in the CBA that would allow the city to recoup some of those costs if the employee were to leave under certain circumstances within 2 years following their date of getting that CDL. Insurance was another feature of bargaining. City's insurance contributions remain at 95%, so city pays 95% of the health insurance premiums, employee pays 5%. That's carryover from the contract language we're currently under. But I think a great thing that we have agreed to is that upon ratification, if that's the way council votes tonight, the city and ASME are convening a task force to look into alternative sources of health insurance coverage. Right now for ASME, CIS provides the policies. There have been pretty substantial increases in cost to those. So the point of this task force is to go out and see what other options might be available so that employees have the insurance that they need at a cost that makes sense for both the city and the employee. Brenda, anything you'd add?
No, I just want to quickly recognize our bargaining team. That was excellent. Besides Emily and myself, our assistant city manager, I was over there, Kim Zell, she was on the bargaining team, very helpful for us and great initiation for her into the union side of things here at the city. Greg Robertson, Public Works Director, and Colleen Winters, Library Director. That was a very excellent team.
Yes, I will give another shout out to the basket of snacks that Kim brought to every bargaining session. That was a very valuable member of the city's bargaining team. And I'd also like to thank the AFSCME bargaining team. We did a lot of good work at the table. Really appreciate working with all of your AFSCME members who are on that bargaining team, and then also the AFSCME representative who joined us.
A quick question. Can you explain to, I mean, maybe the people that aren't watching, but people who are watching, like the difference, the diverse job classifications in this labor organization?
Yeah, AFSCME is our largest bargaining unit. It encompasses everything from our janitors to our planners to administrative staff to the employees who basically do everything that is not covered by IBEW, fire, or police, or management. So it is our broadest, most diverse union, and has all levels of employees. So I think it's a big challenge for them to get their members together and on the same page and even come up with bargaining priorities. So I think that they had really good leadership this year. And what I'm hearing, the employees are very happy with the contract and that the city has recognized them for the work that they're doing.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, what is the wish of the council?
That we pass Resolution 2026-38.
Second.
Let me get sure.
Yeah, you're good. Thank you. Resolution 2026-39, I think.
39.
No, right? Yeah, 39 was moved by Councilor Martinez and seconded by Councilor Schimmel. Any discussion? Yeah, I think we all just think great work. And then also great work from, as you said, AFSCME. I mean, that is a really large, complex, I mean, everything that we have in the city is because of the employee. I mean, like literally throughout the whole city, they show up for us. So thank you. I think it's difficult to negotiate all of those roles and make sure people are happy. And I think you all did a really good job. So thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, will the city manager please read the resolution by title only?
Resolution 2026-39, authorizing execution of a labor agreement between the City of Forest Grove and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 3786, Council 75, effective July 1st, 2026, and expiring June 30th, 2029.
Great, thank you. Will the city recorder please call roll?
Counselor Marshall?
Yes.
Council President Valenzuela?
Yes.
Counselor Schimmel?
Yes.
Counselor Falconer?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Wenzel?
Yes. Resolution 2026-39 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a 6-0 vote. Thank you very much. You're not off yet, so we're going to move on to Resolution 2026-40, adopting City Manager's Performance Review.
I'm going to let Emily take this. She was directly involved.
All right, final
Okay.
step here. So today is the day where the council makes the official decision whether to adopt the performance review that has been previously discussed with your city manager in executive session. I believe that was back in June 22nd.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So, I mean, is there any questions about? Okay, what's the wish of the council?
So move that we pass Resolution 2026-40.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Resolution 2026-40 was moved by Councilor Martinez, seconded by Councilor Schimmel. Any discussion? I'm going to ask our assistant city manager to read it by title only because Jesse kind of gets weird about this stuff. Sorry, Kim, to put you on the spot. I should have told you before.
That's okay. I found it. Resolution 2026-40, adopting city manager's performance review.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, hearing none. Resolution 2026-40 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a 6-0 vote. And then we're going to move on to Resolution 2026-41, authorizing compensation for city manager. I'm going to turn it over to Brenda to give us some information about comparables and give us the 411.
So the final step then, the evaluation has now been completed and adopted by council. So the final step is to set the compensation for the city manager position for the upcoming year. And it will be retroactive to July 1st, and also the vehicle allowance for the city manager position. Last year, You might remember that we found that our city manager position was over 5%, more than that below the market for our peer cities in our area. The council took two important steps at that point. They gave the position not only a cost of living adjustment, but also deferred compensation, which was something that we were seeing a lot of peer cities doing with their city managers, so when you look at just base compensation, the position was already 5% below the market. When you looked at total compensation, it was much more out of the market. So the council adopted last year a 5% deferred compensation ongoing for the city manager as well. So what we found this year, which is good news, is that I think that worked and kept our position in the market. So on base compensation alone, with the 10 peers who I was able to get data from in our area, it put the city manager's position at 0.74% above market median, which basically means it's at median. Yeah. With the total compensation, including things like retirement, deferred comp, vehicle allowance, VEBA contributions, those kind of things, the position is 1.79% above market median, which, with the comparables, I'm very pleased with that. So thank you for the work that you did last year, because no matter how Jesse feels about not wanting us to give him pay increases, we need to stay competitive in the market for this position. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to bring to the council this evening just some information about, so the market position is good in terms of our policies on compensation. The council then gets to decide how much they want to provide for a percentage increase. And we always, or generally, do the same percentage increase for the vehicle allowance that we do for the cost of living increase. So I put together some numbers for 3.25. Shouldn't have eaten those nuts before I came. 3.5, 4, and 5%, just to have numbers available for the council. To give you a little bit of context, our unrepresented employees received 3.25% cost of living increase on July 1st. As you saw, the IBW got significantly higher. Of course, each of these groups have different markets and different factors that are considered, and AFSCME, just received a 6%, but so the unrep is 3.25%. If you want any more information I can provide, please let me know.
Yeah. So I feel, well, I guess it's more for discussion. I don't have a question for you. Sorry, I caught myself not doing the right process. Any questions for Brenda? If when we decide on the COLA increase, you'll help me fill out what that equals to per month. And okay, can I have a process question? I don't know if it's maybe for Mariah. So in order to have, I'm kind of like I'm already been really bad tonight about my order of operations, but we can't really have a motion until we have the amount, and so I want to discuss before the motion. Can I do that? Because usually it's the motion, the discussion, right?
I think you would still make a motion to adopt the resolution, so you could have the discussion, and then you would then make a motion to amend the resolution.
Okay, let's do that then. Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 202641 to discuss compensation?
A motion to approve Resolution 2026-41.
Perfect. Second. Great, thank you. Resolution 2026-41 is moved by Councilor Marshall and seconded by Councilor Martinez. And now let's start discussing the COLA, the bargaining, right? The numbers. So what I was going to say is that, the complexity of being a full service city and having lots of unions and all these things going on is constantly the balance game of like making sure we're doing what's fair to the person in the moment, I think, and, backing it up with data. And we made our jump for Jesse last year, and I really, really appreciate it. I think we were all in agreement that we needed to correct that, and he's been doing a great job. I think where I'm at right now is that I would like just to keep it at 3.25 as the unrepresented groups and have that be the same. And I think that I just think that that's what I would like to do. Stand alone, I think it's the best policy, but then also as you're finishing up other negotiations, like just to make sure, I don't know. That's I'm not going to say anything more about it, but that's my.
I agree.
Okay. I hear an agreement and then Councilor Falconer, what do you think? Okay, cool. Okay, so if we do 3.25, so if I wrote it out, well, we gotta get the numbers first. Let's try to do, so with the amending motion, I think, do we need to say like section 1? Okay, let me just ask. Right, so can we do a motion saying we want to have a COLA increase of 3.25%, and that would be good enough? Or do we need to say the city manager's base salary shall be as follows, this blank per month, this annually, and then the car?
I think you would make a motion to modify or to amend sections 1 and 2
or the exact
as
amounts.
a 3.25% increase.
I'll chime in. Yes, you can just say 3.25% increase because we know what the amount is right now and the numbers will follow from the percentage increase.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Go for it.
I'll make a motion to amend resolution 2026-41 to reflect a 3.25% for section 1 and 3.25 for section 2.
Okay,
I second.
so the amended motion with the 3.25% COLA increase was moved by Councilor Schimmel and seconded by Councilor Martinez. Any discussion on that? Okay, now when we vote, we're voting just on the amendment, or is it just the vote now?
So you had an open motion on the table, you move to amend the motion, you vote on the amendment, and then the motion becomes the amended motion, and then you vote on the...
We're going to vote twice.
Yeah. And then I have a suggestion at some other point to streamline this for you in the future.
Amazing. Thank you.
But that's, 2 votes. Here we go.
Okay. And thanks. I'll take that, recommendation. Okay, so do we have to read it by title? Assistant City Manager no, not the amendment one. Okay, so let's take a vote on the amended motion. Mariah, can you please call for the vote on the amendment?
Council President Valenzuela?
Yes.
Councilor Schimmel?
Yes.
Councilor Falconer?
Yes.
Councilor Martinez?
Yeah.
Councilor Marshall?
Yes.
Mayor Wenzel?
Yes. So the amended resolution qualifying the city manager for a 3.25% increase has been approved. Is there any discussion on resolution 202641 with the COLA included?
I have a quick question. Is that 3.25, you're carrying it through sections 1 and 2?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my understanding. Yeah. That was his motion.
Okay.
So we're going to say yes. Okay. Okay, can we, City Manager, will you please read the resolution by title only?
Absolutely. Resolution 2026-41, authorizing compensation for city manager for fiscal year 2026 to 27.
Thank you very much. And Mariah, will you please call for the vote?
Councilor Schimmel?
Yes.
Councilor Falconer?
Yes.
Councilor Martinez?
Yeah.
Councilor Marshall?
Yes.
Council President Valenzuela?
Yes.
Mayor Wenzel?
Yes. Resolution 2026-41 has been approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a 6-0 vote. Thank you very much for the work you all do, and thank you for helping me get through this. A little awkward dance. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to item G, which is our council communication. And I'm going to start with our council president, Valenzuela.
Thank you, Mayor. So, there are 3 activities that I would like to highlight with the Library Commission, for which I am the liaison. We were invited to a tour of our police station. And I had done that a few years ago when I first came to council. And that was in 2019. So what I can say and ask is for my community, our community, to support our police department this November. The situation, the building, the need, it's just, I found it to be kind of precarious, to be honest. Like since 2019 until now, it has deteriorated more. They need more space. We always want to support our police force. There are a lot of community members that are always advocating for the blue. So let's show that this November, because they really need our support. I also attended the Policy Advisory Board. This time we met in person, which we do only once a year during the month of August. We met in Cornelius at the library, and we were greeted by the city manager of Cornelius, Peter Brandon, and thank you so much to him for his hospitality, for having us there, giving us a tour, a very quiet tour of the library, because you know how libraries are, right? So you can just walk around very quietly. But it was really great to see how the vision of that city, when they worked on the project to renew their downtown, how it's becoming a reality. Already, you know, we're having the library built over there with affordable housing for seniors upstairs, just above the library. And then he took us on a tour to what used to be Cornelius Elementary School. And it's going to become the community center. They already have the basketball courts, so it just really, and a lot of space. You know, so it used to be a school. So, you know, for us to build something like that, it would be a huge task, but they already have this gift, you know, this school that they're purchasing from the school district to make it their community center. And he explained to us, we looked at the rooms, you know, and everything that they were planning on doing in that space. We also looked at some slides of the projects that Cornelius has been able to fund to improve their streets, especially sidewalks for people with disabilities. There were no sidewalks in some streets there a few years ago. But it's amazing how, you know, with all the effort and CDBG funding, you know, how much it can help to change the community, just, you know, to make it a better place. And there, I learned that their farmers market is right there in the Cornelius parking lot. So they're really, you know, making their vision come true. So it was a really nice gathering. You know, it was, yes. But sadly, we also learned that a few of the members of the Policy Advisory Board are not going to run for re-election this November. So, you know, councilors from other cities have decided that their time has come, you know, to do other things. So that was kind of sad because you work with people for so many years. So there's always a change in the dynamic of the whole thing when someone of the team, you know, changes or goes, you know. So that's for that. And the Public Arts Commission is getting ready. I suppose you did receive the invitation to the event. They are working really hard to make that event great for the community. It's going to be at the library, our public library, on September 26th. I believe it's from 4 to 6, or a couple of hours. There will be a lot of history, you know, of how art has become part of the city, the different projects that have been accomplished, different artists will be present as well. And I invite the whole community to come and be part of that. because, that helps you see what a special town we live in. So yeah, those are the things I wanted to highlight. And yeah.
Thank you,
So
Council
that's all.
President. Those are good, uplifting. And I looked it up. It's on the 20th of September.
26th.
20th. September 20th. No?
26th.
That's what,
A ver?
I don't know. That's,
Okay.
but maybe not. But forwarded, that's what I have on my email.
So I will look it up because I need to be sure.
Sunday, I have Sunday, September 20th, 4 to 6, the 20th anniversary celebration. It should be a good time. And yeah, if we can all make it, it would be great.
Okay. I'll probably mention it next time. The reminder.
Okay, perfect. Okay, next up is Councillor Falconer.
Thanks, everyone. Just real quick, I'm on East Coast time, so I'm going to keep my comments really short. The Chamber is hosting the Corn Roast Fest is coming up, so September 19th. Please mark your calendar for that. Also, I just wanted to real quick. I know it's been quite. There's been a lot of conversation online and in the news, and I just, as I was reflecting on the proclamation earlier tonight for first responders, I was, it's been really heavy on my heart. What happened over the weekend outside of city limits, my heart is just breaking for those for the families, for those involved. But also, I've been thinking a lot about our firefighters and our police officers and all of the first responders who have been who responded to the incident and also are responsible for investigating the events. So just been thinking a lot about everyone who's been touched by that, and just want to say I've been thinking a lot about that, and I know that everyone in the community really is as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Falconer. Councillor Marshall.
Anne had gone over most of what I was going to discuss because that was the majority of our meeting. You want to give out a shout out to Cody for the rec program this summer. I've heard nothing but great things from kids, along with the staff that's worked with it. I know a handful of the kids that work there, and they said they had an awesome time, and we're sad to see it end. One thing, Pete Truex has stepped down as a liaison, and it's now going to be Linda Harrington has stepped in to take that place. That was mostly what I had. Actually, the other thing is that the Parks and Rec board did agree with the B option during our work session as well. I know they sent out that, but that was they were all pretty excited for that that opportunity for that. Our next meeting we will be holding at the police department as well to kind of switch it up, one, and two, give everybody a kind of an idea of what it looks like there and what everything is there. And that is all I have for that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Councillor Marshall. Councillor Martinez.
Had the Sister City Committee meeting last week. We will have our student delegation here in Forest Grove, October 20th to November 1st. We'll have 10 students. They're around 12 to 13 years old. And also 2 men and a woman, teacher, one who's, I guess it was 2 teachers and someone from their welfare division. The only other thing I want to say is with the rural board, there's not a whole lot of information to give, except that every meeting, Chief is sharing about the exceptional work that we're able to do because of the bond that was passed with the extra firefighters, and we're able to, most of the time, staff 2 engines. And so our capabilities to respond to emergencies is much better.
That is really good. Thank you. Councillor Schimmel.
Thank you, Mayor. EDC was on sabbatical in August. Thank you, Miles. TV Highway Transit Committee will meet again at the end of September. They rotate around to different municipal chambers, and each time, and they'll be here for the next meeting on the 29th. And then CCE also met at the police station. So it sounds like all the different commissions are rotating in. So especially for CCE, it's good awareness. And a few months ago, Anne extended an invitation to join her on a trip around the Emerald Trail. So I took her up on it, and last week just last week. We took the city's gator, and we went just the entire city perimeter following the trail. We even went down into the field and got different vantage points. So I definitely encourage folks to take advantage of that if you're okay in the open air vehicle. Also introduce her to our Metro Councilor, Miles Palacios. So Miles is going to go on a trip too.
Yeah, I actually spotted Councilor Schimmel and Director Lane, and Councilor Schimmel was he was like a 4-year-old with his big Tonkin trucks. I was like, wait, because I'm walking my dog, doing my thing, and then I see this gator coming. I'm like, the mayor's nosy. I'm like, what is this person doing? What is going on? And then here's Brian with like the biggest smile ever. Anne had a great smile too, so highly recommend it. I was like, oh, it looks like they're having all the fun. Okay, sorry to interrupt. My bad.
It.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we'll move to Jesse for his city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. A big thanks to our communications staff who helped coordinate a tour with Congresswoman Bonamici's office. Mayor, I'm assuming you'll probably give some more details on that. So, but a big thanks to the comm staff for doing that on short notice. A couple other updates. The Economic Development Strategic Plan is being advertised. Proposals are due September 1st. Our Civics Academy, today is the last day to sign up. So if we have any last minute signups, it does close at the end of the day today. August 3rd to the 24th was the sign up period, and the Civics Academy starts on September 2nd. So that will be coming up very soon. The annual community open house, I know this is a long ways off, but just kind of telegraphing it now, is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, October 27th. More details to follow on that. Building on the boards and commissions having meetings at the police facility, the Chamber's Rise and Shine will also be held at the police facility on September 3rd at 8 a.m. Staff is finalizing a contract with David Evans and Associates. They're a leading land use planning firm here in the state of Oregon. We are hiring them to audit our comprehensive plan and propose an update process. So we are in the final stages of that. More to follow later. Congratulations to Greg and the Public Works team. The Public Works Administrative Building remodel and expansion was opened and received their certificate of occupancy on August 7th. So kudos to them. The project was a great success. We used a construction manager, general contractor method. It ended up saving us some money and improving the timeline by nearly a month. So we did finish ahead of schedule and actually under budget. I know I mentioned this last time, but I just kind of want to reiterate it. We have received several positive comments about adding some additional on-street parking spaces in downtown by restriping. So again, kudos to Greg and Crystal and their team for doing that. Adding 20 spaces in the downtown. To build on what Councilor Martinez was mentioning earlier, the chief has been keeping really good track about kind of the impacts of the additional positions that were added as a result of the levy. June, which is normally a very busy month, and we have quite a few firefighters that take vacations during that month. We increased our response units, where we have 2 unit staff instead of just 1. Previously, it was 37% of the time, but because of the levy in the month of June, it was 87% of the time, so a nominal 50% increase. So kudos, 26 of 30 days, we had 2 emergency response units out and able to respond to emergencies in our community. And then last but not least, if you haven't had a chance to drive by the East Side Park, please do so. It is on track. It's nearing completion, and stay tuned for a ribbon cutting announcement. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Jesse. I guess I'll start with that. So as Jesse mentioned in his report, in July, we had I call it a field trip because I'm a teacher, about our East Side Forest Grove transportation projects. And Congresswoman Bonamici came out. And of course, I took the opportunity. Jesse like ran through like, oh, we'll go this way. And I was like, well, let's go down 19th so we can show them the park as well. Because I think, as we tell the stories, when we talk about community engagement and, people like to say what the city isn't doing or what we can do better. We really have as a council, and I think as city staff, invested in Eastside Forest Grove. We were reflective. We knew we needed a park there. We knew we needed to, improve our transportation, the walkability. And so anyways, I thought that was a great opportunity to show the Congresswoman who, just as a friendly reminder, gifted the city $850,000. And currently, I think she has another $1 million trying to get to us. We'll see how that pans out. But it was wild because I think sometimes the Congresswoman thinks we like plan things to look really bad there. And I'm like, no, it's just a daily. So she, I felt bad for Director Robertson. Greg's trying to explain this intersection at U Street and what's going to happen. And she's just like, keeps grabbing my arm. She's like, oh my God, someone's going to cross that bus, that car. And because that, Emily, you probably haven't been out there, but there's this intersection that's really dangerous. So anyways, that was, I think, a worthwhile field trip. I still don't know. Jesse, do you know why the mid-block crossing is not going to be done till the end of the year?
It's something to do with hooking up to the electrical system. All the infrastructure is put into place, but getting the electrical system and the parts associated with a rapid flashing beacon has been the delay.
Yeah, so ODOT's doing that, and that's, again, the mid-block crossing at Rose Grove to the bus station, kind of by Pink Spoon. And then when ODOT's presenting on that, that's like sometimes when you go on a field trip, you're like, wait, I don't like that answer, because it was scheduled to be done by the end of summer. It was going to be done the same time our park was done, because I thought we had this synergy going on. Like, kids are going to walk from Rose Grove, they're going to safely cross TV Highway to get to our new park. This is like in my head what I'm seeing, like, hey, this is all going to work out really well. And now it's not going to be done. It's going to be dark in October. Kids are going to be walking to school in the dark. It's going to be no flashing light. So anyways, ODOT, if you're listening, it'd be great if you could hurry up on that. But I think that overall we have lots of good projects, and that's an exciting time. That same day before that field trip, Habitat had a ribbon cutting, and 2 families got the keys to their house. So that was really good. That's always a great, as Council President Valenzuela was talking about, like, those are heart-filling moments. I did attend. Toyama is a prefecture that our sister city, New Zen, is part of. And so they had their 30th anniversary of state, sister statehood, I guess. So that was at the Japanese Gardens. I attended that. I did forward him and Jesse an email from the MMC wanting data on how much funding or how much money the city has spent providing services addressing homelessness, because there's going to be some SHS conversations and Metro conversations coming up. And I'm going to be presenting at the Westside Economic Alliance meeting on September 17th. So I'm just putting that out there. Like, I would like to meet with Kim and Miles to kind of make sure we have a presentation put together. So I'm prepared for that. And then just a couple friendly reminders. September is a really busy month in Forest Grove. So the corn roast, chalk art, the 20th anniversary of the Public Arts Commission, those calendars are going to fill up. And then also, shout out to Councilor Martinez and Councilor Schimmel for going to the market about the police facility bond. Just anything we can do to get that out there. And by the way, another little scheduling thing is that I received an email today from somebody, and they want to have an interview with the chief and I before Friday about the police bond. So I don't know, can I ask you guys to help me arrange that, or do I need to do that outside of staff time?
Yeah, no, we can certainly help arrange that.
Okay, cool. And I think, let's see, I have a lot of stuff on here, but we still have another meeting after this. I would like to address, similar to what Counselor Falconer said. The tragedy that happened this weekend outside of Forest Grove in the Gales Creek community is heartbreaking. I know it's probably frustrating to some of our community because we are a close-knit community, people reaching out to all of us saying, hey, Mayor, what's going on? Like, what can you tell us? And what I've been telling people is like, I really can't tell you anything other than I feel terrible for the family and friends of the victims. And then also, the responders, the first responders, the public safety, the police, the fire that come, those rippling effects. And with school starting, I don't know, I just have a lot of concerns, but I just know too in our heart that Forest Grove community will come together to support that family. And our police and fire. So with that, I'm going to adjourn this meeting, but I'm going to ask you stay for our UR8 meeting. Okay, and with that, but except Counselor Falconer, you're on East Coast time. If you don't want to stay, it's your call. So meeting adjourned.